I assume you want to know the difference between deductive and inductive reasoning. So let me tell you. Now, first of all, deductive reasoning has been around a lot longer. Goes all the way back to Aristotle. Deductive reasoning is a method of reasoning by which you start with a premise and you go to another premise, and these premises lead you to a conclusion. All right, and if you've done this right and logically and all that, then you have arrived at something that is certain. A certain conclusion, meaning not just a certain conclusion, but a conclusion that we can be certain of. Now, then there is inductive reasoning. And inductive reasoning, fast forward about 2,000 years, and we go to Sir Francis Bacon, a 17th century English natural philosopher, which is what they called scientists back in the day. And inductive reasoning, instead of starting with a general premise, moving on to a particular premise, and then getting to an answer that way, Sir Francis Bacon said that the way we arrive at truth is to make repeated observations. And then, out of those repeated observations, we generalize these repeatedly observed phenomena into a probable conclusion. That's the very simple version. Now, he outlined this in his Novum Organum in 1620, which means new method. Now, keep in mind, new method as in a new method. The old method's been around for like 2,000 years. So what you have to keep in mind here is when Bacon is bringing forward this inductive reasoning, that he is challenging Aristotle, which is something that's really kind of distinctive about the scientific revolution, is this willingness to challenge ancient authorities. The simplest way we can compare inductive and deductive reasoning is to look at deductive reasoning as top-down, where we start with a generalization and it leads us to a specific instance, all right, that conclusion is very specific. Whereas inductive reasoning is bottom-up, where we start with a number of specific instances and that leads us to make a generalization. Now, of course, as in anything philosophical or scientific, that many experts will say that this is an oversimplification, but at the same time, it does help. And so with deductive reasoning, conclusions are drawn from premises. You start with premises. Top-down logic again. Now, as far as these premises, the most classic example of a premise is when Aristotle says, first of all men are mortal. We start with a general premise. And then we look at a specific situation. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. Going from general to specific. I've got a video on René Descartes, who was a philosopher of the scientific revolution. And Descartes is most famous for saying, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Now, cogito ergo sum is actually a statement of deductive reasoning. Because what Descartes did is he came to the conclusion, he's trying to figure out if he exists. All right, this guy, he went real deep. Descartes says, first of all, what thinks must exist. All right, that something that thinks can only do that if they exist. 2, I am thinking. Therefore, or in Latin, ergo, I exist. I think, therefore, I am. Deductive reasoning. So this is one of those things that the conclusion can kind of stand until you realize, wait, that's false. And then I go back to the premises, I figure out which one was false, and if my logic didn't add up or something like that. Deductive reasoning. So as far as inductive reasoning, we draw conclusions from observations. So we start with observations. This is what we call in science and philosophy empiricism, which is a big deal during the scientific revolution and the Enlightenment. And this is really about connecting the dots. And the more data we have, the greater the probability of the conclusion being true. So for example, if we were to look at these 3 dots, what do you see? Dramatic pause. Did you see a triangle? Well, it could be a triangle, but then again, it could also be a circle. See? 3 points on a circle, 3 points on a triangle. Don't you feel stupid now if you saw the triangle? Well, actually, the thing is, though, we don't know what it is. It could be a triangle. So the thing is, when we get more data, then this is looking more like a triangle. Then again, it could be something else. But we see that, okay, triangle fits here and a circle does not fit here. So we know that that is not a circle. So the more data, the closer we are to certainty, although we don't quite get there. Another thing that's used often is when somebody says all swans are white. What you're really saying is all swans that I've seen are white. And not all swans, because I have not seen all swans, and therefore I can't make that judgment. Now keep in mind that certainty is not even the goal of inductive reasoning, because while deductive reasoning aims to arrive at certainty, inductive reasoning is only a function of probability and saying that we can infer that this is true, that there is a high probability that this is true, not that we can ever be 100% certain of anything, because science changes. It evolves over time. We don't base our physics on Aristotle anymore. So when it comes down to it, the scientific method is a repeated process of induction and deduction. It's not that one of these reasoning forms is better than the other. They're different.
Hi guys, I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with John E. Hoover.
But I would say of all the videos that have been brought to my attention, this is probably the most or closest to something that I actually think is a real thing. And I do.
What we do see in John's video is mind-blowing. Check this out.
To give him credit for this incredible video, John Cullen. This video is really incredible, actually. And I don't think even Shepard has seen it yet. I was like, wow. The name of it is How Did Four Helicopter Gunships Attack Las Vegas Unnoticed? It is Home Run. Has done a fantastic job on this, and it will make a lot of sense to everybody. I know it will. It opened my eyes to a perspective that is just pow.
Check this out.